The dust storm howled across the alien marketplace. The red sky above made everything look like fire. Jace, a human wanderer and trader, pulled his hood low over his face and kept walking. This planet, Tragon 4, was full of cheats and thieves. But he needed supplies. He had just made a small trade for some fuel cells when a dirty old alien man with shaking hands rushed to him. "You!" "Human, wait!" the alien gasped. "Please help me. I owe the warlord. I have nothing else to give him." Jace narrowed his eyes. "Why come to me?" The alien fell to his knees and opened the small cage beside him. Inside, curled in a ball, was a young alien girl. She looked weak, her arms chained, her body covered in dust and bruises. Her hair was tangled and her skin was pale. She didn't look up. "She's all I have," the old alien said. "Take her. For what you gave me, take her as payment." Jace took a step back, disgusted. "I don't take slaves." "She's not worth much anyway," the alien said with a bitter laugh. "No one wants her. She won't talk. She's broken." Jace turned to leave. He hated this place. But just as he walked away, he heard a soft, broken voice behind him. "Please, don't leave me here." He froze. He turned around slowly. The girl had raised her head just a little. Her eyes, though tired, were full of fear. And hope. JACE . Chest tightened. He didn't want to get involved. But something inside him, something deeply human, wouldn't let him ignore her. "Fine," he said at last. "But I don't want her as a slave. She's coming with me as a person, no chains." The alien nodded quickly. Yes, yes. Of course." Jace removed the chains himself. The girl didn't resist. Her body trembled as he helped her stand. She looked so light, like a feather in the wind. He handed the alien a few more supplies and walked away, guiding the girl gently, back at his small transport ship. Jace gave her clean clothes, water, and some food. She sat quietly in the corner, holding the warm blanket he gave her. She didn't speak, didn't eat right away. She just stared at the floor. "What's your name?" Jace asked as he fixed the power core. She shook her head slowly. "I don't have one anymore. You must have had one once." "You may call me anything you want," she whispered. "It doesn't matter," Jace sighed. "All right. I'll call you Lyra. You look like a Lyra." She blinked, surprised. "Lyra, you're safe now," Jace said. "You don't have to be afraid." But Lyra didn't answer. She kept staring at the floor. That night, Jace checked the security system and locked the doors. He sat on his cot and looked at Lyra, who was curled up on the small bed he made for her. She was already asleep. Just as he turned to rest, he heard her whisper in her sleep, "Father, I'm still alive." Jace sat up straight. "Father?" What kind of slave dreams of her father with that kind of pain? There was something strange about her. She wasn't like the others he had seen in these cruel markets. He stood and carefully checked her old clothes, now bundled in a corner. Hidden under the torn collar, he found a small metal piece sewn into the fabric. It was rusty but had a royal symbol etched into it, one he had seen before in ancient records of alien, noble families. Jace's eyes widened. Who exactly was this girl? Why was she sold like garbage? He looked back at her sleeping form. She wasn't just a slave. She was something much, much more. And he had a feeling this was only the beginning. The sun of Tragon 4 had not yet risen, but Jace was already awake. The old royal emblem he had found in Lyra's collar sat on the table in front of him, catching the faint light from the ship's console. He stared at it, deep in thought. The lines, the symbol. It matched the ancient crest of the Zerethian royal house, a line believed to have been wiped out during the last planetary coup. Jace looked over at the girl sleeping quietly. No chains, no cuffs, just a blanket and a peaceful face for the first time in Who knows how long. Who was she really? Suddenly, her eyes opened, and they were watching him. You were dreaming last night, Jace said softly. You said something about your father. Lyra sat up quickly, panic flashing in her eyes. I didn't mean to. It's okay. He interrupted. I'm not angry. I just want to understand. You're not just any slave, are you? She looked away. I found this. Jace slid the emblem toward her. Lyra's face went pale. Her hands trembled, but she didn't touch it. You shouldn't have that. Then tell me why it was hidden in your clothes. A long silence. Finally, she whispered, because if they knew I still had it, they would have finished the job. Jace raised an eyebrow. Finished what? Killing me. They sat in silence for a moment, the hum of the ship the only sound between them. You said I could call you anything, Jace finally said, but I want to know your real name. Lyra shook her head. That name died with my family. Then, we start over, he said. You're Lyra now. That's the name of someone who survives. A tear slipped down her cheek. I don't feel like someone who survives. You are, Jace said. You're still breathing. That's more than most. Later that day, they landed in a small port city to buy food. Jace made Lyra wear a cloak with a hood, just in case. But even with her face hidden, the locals gave them strange looks. People whispered behind their hands. A vendor muttered, That girl, is that? Before Jace could respond, a guard patrol walked by, and Lyra froze. Her whole body went stiff like she was turning to stone. When the guards passed, she finally whispered, They're still looking for me. Who? She shook her head. Not yet. Please, not here. Back on the ship, Jace gave her space. But that night, she came to him on her own. I was born on the crystal moon of Zarathon, she said quietly. I had servants, tutors, a garden that sang with light. Then the night came, the fire, the soldiers. They killed my mother in front of me. They told me my father was dead. They locked me in a box and sold me like trash. Jace listened in. Silence, no judgment. Just calm presence. Why are you telling me now? He asked gently. Because when you took my chains off, I remembered what it felt like to be human again. Even if I'm not one. She looked at him. Do you believe in lost royalty, Jace? I do now. Suddenly, the ship's alarm beeped low but sharp. Someone was scanning their location. Lyra's face went pale. They found me. Jace rushed to the controls. A bounty ping had just been sent from a nearby outpost. Reward offered. Subject: royal fugitive, alive if possible, dead if not. Jace looked back at her. They want you dead, not saved. Lyra looked down at the chains folded on the floor. They're not going to stop. He picked them up and tossed them into the fire. Chamber. No, he said firmly. But neither am I. The wind outside was dead still. Too still. Jace stood by the cockpit window, staring at the dusty port city disappearing in the distance. His ship cruised low and fast above the canyons, trying to avoid radar. Lyra sat quietly in the co-pilot's seat, her fingers clenched around the fabric of her cloak. Neither of them spoke, but both knew something was wrong. Then, like a whisper in the dark ping, a small alert blinked on the console. Proximity alert. Incoming craft. No ID, no signal. Speed, intercept. Jace cursed under his breath. Someone's tailing us. Lyra's face went pale. They found me. Minutes earlier, in a crowded backroom of a bounty den, a scarred alien bounty hunter stared at a flickering hologram of Lyra's face. She's alive? He growled. The contact on the other end nodded. Survived the royal purge. They want her gone, quietly. The bounty hunter grinned, baring his metal teeth. Alive's messy, dead is faster. He slammed a fresh plasma clip into his rifle. I'll find her. Back on Jace's ship, alarms started to hum. We've got incoming, no radio, no lights. Just heat signatures, Jace said. Pirates? Lyra asked. No. Bounty. He swerved sharply left, diving through canyon walls. Rock dust exploded behind them. "Hold on!" he shouted. The enemy ship followed fast, firing warning shots that sizzled through the air. Jace's ship shook violently. Lyra grabbed the co-pilot controls. "I can help. I used to fly with my father." Jace looked at her, surprised but let her take over. Together they weaved through narrow rock tunnels like ghosts. "Why are they chasing you so hard?" Jace asked through gritted teeth. "They fear the truth," she answered. "If the people learn I'm alive, the false king loses everything." Another blast shook the ship. Panels sparked. Jace glanced at the radar. "We can't outrun them." Then, "We vanish," Lyra said. "There's an old place south of the dark spines. A temple. My family hid there once. It's cloaked. Unseen by scanners. Coordinates?" She closed her eyes, remembering. 20-1 by 78. Follow the moons. He punched the numbers in. "Let's hope ancient magic still works." They reached the cliffs just as the bounty ship fired again. A bolt scorched the rear engine. The ship spun, alarms blaring. Jace struggled to land. "We're going down." Lyra grabbed his arm. "Trust the stones. Trust the ground." The ship crashed hard, but not fatally sliding, between two giant roots of alien trees. Silence. Jace coughed and unbuckled. "Still alive?" "Barely," Lyra said with a weak smile. They got out and ran through the thick mist. Behind them, footsteps landed. Metal boots. Weapons loading. The hunter was close. Too close. Suddenly, Lyra stopped and touched a mossy stone. Hidden under a twisted tree, her fingers glowed faintly. The stone shifted. A door opened in the ground. "In here." They jumped inside. The stone slid shut behind them. Darkness swallowed the tunnel, but they were safe. For now. Inside the temple, glowing vines lit the path. Symbols covered the walls. Symbols Jace didn't understand. Lyra walked like she'd been there before. She placed her hand on a crystal panel. It glowed bright, reading her. A hidden chamber opened. Inside was a mural. A portrait of her, Lyra dressed in royal silk, wearing a golden crown. Jace stared. "That's you." She nodded slowly. "I wasn't just the king's daughter. I was the heir." The air inside the hidden temple was heavy, with time, with silence, with buried pain. Lyra stood frozen in front of the mural. Her royal image gazed back at her from the wall, carved in glowing stone, untouched by the years. Jace took a cautious step closer. "You were really meant to rule this world, weren't you?" "No," she whispered. "I was meant to protect it." Rule came later. A low rumble echoed from above. They weren't alone anymore. Outside, the bounty hunter examined the crash site. He crouched near the twisted wreckage, ran his fingers through the dirt, and smiled. Fresh footprints and power signatures. Ancient ones. He stood and activated his tracker. The signal pulsed once, twice. A soft, invisible energy flickered near the temple entrance. He found it. "Found you, little ghost princess." He pulled a plasma blade from his belt and stepped toward the stone wall. Below, the temple lights dimmed. Lyra turned suddenly. "They've breached the outer field." Jace drew his weapon. "How long until they're in?" She closed her eyes. "Not long. Then we move now." She hesitated. "There's something I must show you first." Jace frowned. Now's not the time for history lessons. But she was already walking. They entered a deeper chamber. Inside, wrapped in vines and sealed crystal, was something strange, a floating golden cube. "What is that?" Jace asked. "My family's legacy," Lyra said. "It holds memories, proof. Names of every traitor, every betrayal. If I can activate it, the whole galaxy will know what really happened to the royal house of Zarathon." Jace stepped forward. "Then we get it out of here. We end this." Suddenly, a loud boom echoed above. Dust rained down. "They're inside." Lyra shouted. Jace grabbed the cube. Time to run. They dashed down a narrow escape path as energy blasts rocked the walls behind them. Lyra turned and slammed her palm into a side panel. The stone collapsed behind them, sealing the tunnel. But the bounty hunter was close. He had already marked them, outside. They emerged into a vast glowing canyon, the ancient Shadow Veil. The ground beneath their feet shimmered like glass. Floating stones drifted through the air like lazy birds. Jace looked around, stunned. "What is this place?" "A hidden path," Lyra said. "Only my blood can open it. Then lead on, princess." She gave him a strange look. "You still call me that? You can deny it all you want. But you shine brighter here than you ever did in chains." Blaster fire crackled behind them. "They've caught up." Jace yelled. They ran across the floating path, leaping from one platform to another. The enemy followed, but the ancient stones responded only to Lyra's presence. Some platforms vanished after they crossed. The bounty hunter roared in frustration as a chunk of the path collapsed behind them, leaving him stranded for the moment. "I'll find you, girl," his voice echoed. "You can't run forever." Jace and Lyra didn't stop. At the edge of the canyon, a small shuttle rested under a cloak field, one of her family's escape crafts. Still waiting after all these years. Lyra's handprint opened the hatch. Jace helped her inside. "You sure this thing still works?" "It was built by royals," she said, powering it up. "It doesn't die easy." As they lifted into the sky, Lyra looked down at the shattered canyon. "This was supposed to be my tomb, but it became your path," Jace said. "Now let's make sure it leads somewhere better." The stars stretched endlessly outside the shuttle window, but Lyra's gaze was turned inward. For the first time in days, there were no hunters on their tail, no explosions, no alarms. Just silence and truth waiting to be spoken. Jace sat beside her in the small cockpit, the cube resting in his lap, its golden edges still humming softly. "You haven't said a word since we left the Shadow Veil." "I was waiting," she said, her voice calm yet cold. "Because once I tell you everything, you can't unhear it. I'm still here, aren't I?" She gave a small smile. "Yes, you are." "I was 10 when the betrayal began," Lyra started. The nobles whispered behind silk curtains. "My mother warned my father, but he believed in peace. He didn't see the dagger until it was already in his back." Jace leaned forward. "Who started it?" "My uncle," she said. "He poisoned the council with fear, said my blood was too pure. Said the people needed new rule, stronger rule. And when the time was right, he unleashed mercenaries on the palace." Her hands shook, just a little. "They killed my brothers first. Then they came for my mother and me. She hid me in the garden vault. I heard her scream, and then nothing." Jace said nothing. He simply waited. "My uncle claimed the throne," Lyra said. "Told the galaxy we were all dead. But he made one mistake. He didn't check the vault. He thought you burned with the rest," Jace said quietly. She nodded. "A loyal servant smuggled me off-world. But he was caught. I was sold, resold, beaten, starved, silenced, until I forgot what it felt like to be someone." "You never forgot," Jace said. "You just survived." She looked at the cube. "This holds the original royal codes, my father's voice prints. All the files that prove I'm not just a survivor, I'm the rightful heir. And if we send this out, the throne crumbles," she said. "My uncle's lies collapse. Every system in the empire will see the truth. But, Veil. Come harder, faster, not just bounty hunters, armies." Jace set the cube aside and looked her in the eye. "Then what do you want, Lyra? To run forever, or to rise?" Lyra stood and walked to the front window. The stars reflected in her eyes like fire. "I don't want the throne," she whispered. "But I want the choice. I want to show every girl chained in a cage that a crown can still rise from dirt." She turned to him. "I want to burn the lies down, Just then, the console beeped. A transmission request hidden channel, encrypted. Jace checked it. Someone's trying to reach. US, it's bouncing off ghost satellites. Lyra narrowed her eyes. That means they're close. Or watching. He tapped to open the line. A cracked voice came through. You are flying in restricted space. Surrender the fugitive and you may live. Jace leaned in, smiling coldly. You want her? He pressed a button. The ship's signal pulsed, sending the cube's contents into 1,000 secure beacons across space. Transmission sent. Upload complete. Jace looked back at Lyra. You just told the whole galaxy the truth. The enemy voice hissed. You'll regret that. Jace cut the line. Maybe, he said. But not today. Lyra closed her eyes as the stars passed around them. For the first time in years, she felt something she thought was gone. Hope. Flames danced across the jungle sky. Not from a fire. From warships. 3 of them. Heavy, black and silent, hovering over the forgotten moon of Varan's grave, where Jace and Lyra had landed to refuel and lay low after sending the royal truth transmission. But the message had already reached too far, too fast. And the enemy had responded. Smoke curled from the treetops as mercenaries dropped from low-flying crafts, fully armed and covered in black armor bearing the crest of the false king. Lyra watched from the edge of a ruined shrine, her hand clutching the crystal cube tightly to her chest. Jace stood beside her, checking his rifle with calm hands and sharp eyes. You said the galaxy would respond, he said. You weren't wrong. They came quicker than I thought, Lyra whispered. My uncle must be terrified. That means he's afraid of what happens next. Suddenly, movement in the trees. A lone figure stepped forward from the smoke. He wasn't wearing armor like the others. He wore a long, red coat, and his smile cut like a knife. Hello, princess, he said smoothly. Still breathing, I see. Lyra narrowed her eyes. Who are you? I go by many names. But today, you can call me your final chance. Jace raised his weapon. Step back. But the man didn't flinch. I'm not here to fight, he said. I'm here to offer a deal. He stepped closer, tossing a small device onto the ground. It projected a holo of Lyra's face next to the words. High priority. Destroy on sight. Your uncle wants you dead, he said. He sent 3 fleets. You won't outrun them again. Lyra stayed silent. But I'm not like him, the man said with a sly grin. I work for myself. I collect rare things. You, princess, are a rare thing. He pointed to Jace. I'll let the human live. I'll even let you live hidden, comfortable, far from this war. All you have to do is give me the cube. Jace's grip tightened. You think she'd trade truth for comfort? People do stranger things, the man said. When fire comes, most run. He looked at Lyra. So what will it be, princess? Burn the galaxy with your truth. Or walk away. And live in peace? Lyra didn't answer right away. She stepped forward slowly, holding the cube in both hands. The man smiled, thinking she'd agreed, until she whispered, You forgot one thing. She dropped the cube. It shattered on the ground on purpose. Jace's eyes widened, but instead of dying, the pieces began to float glowing, pulsing with power. Lyra whispered a royal phrase in her ancient language. The fragments exploded in light, releasing hundreds of memory echoes into the sky. The truth projected over the jungle, over the ships, across every recording device nearby. A voice filled the air. Her father's voice. The real king, the bounty man screamed, raising his weapon too late. Jace shot first. One clean shot to the leg dropped him. Lyra stood over him. You came offering comfort, she said, but I was never meant to live quiet. I was born to rise. The jungle shook again, more ships coming. Jace looked to Lyra. We have to go, now. They grabbed supplies and ran toward the backup shuttle buried nearby. As they lifted off, Lyra watched her message ripple across the skies. There was no going back now. But she wasn't afraid anymore. They used to call her nothing. Now the stars whispered her name. Lyra. Not a slave, not a runaway, not a forgotten daughter, but the true heir, the royal halls of Zarathon. Prime had not heard her footsteps since the night of fire and betrayal. Now the same marble that had once echoed with screams trembled beneath her return. Jace walked beside her, dressed in the dark uniform of the Reclaimers, a human-led group that had sworn loyalty to the truth, not blood. Around them stood rows of citizens, silent, stunned, many kneeling as she passed. The cube's message had traveled far. And it had done more than reveal secrets. It had sparked a revolution. At the throne, Lyra paused. It stood empty. Polished. Cold. She reached for the royal crest etched into the armrest, once her father's, then her uncle's, and now she turned her back to it. Facing the people instead. I was never meant to rule from above, Lyra said loudly. I was meant to walk beside you. And for years, I was beneath you, chained, beaten, sold. Gasps echoed across the crowd. I was made a slave to silence the truth. But I survived. Not because I am strong, but because I was shown kindness by a man who had every reason to walk away. She looked to Jace. He didn't smile. He simply nodded. I do not want the crown, Lyra continued. But I will wear it until we burn the chains that bind the innocent. Until no girl is sold, no voice silenced, and no truth buried. She turned and lifted the crown from the throne, gold, heavy, lined with blue crystal. Then in front of the entire hall, she placed it not on her head, but on the ground. I am not your ruler, she said. I am your shield. Cheers broke out. Tears. Fists raised. And for the first time in years, the halls felt alive again. Later, in the palace garden rebuilt and blooming, once more Lyra stood beneath the glowing trees. Jace joined her quietly. You threw away a throne, he said. Not many would, she smiled. I didn't throw it away. I gave it back. He looked at her. What now? She took his hand. I was given to you as payment, remember? Jace laughed softly. Yeah, worst deal that old alien ever made. Lyra stepped closer. Best one you ever accepted. The stars blinked above. Peace wasn't easy. Justice wasn't perfect. But for the first time, Lyra felt free. Not because she had escaped, but because she had chosen who she would become. Not a princess. Not a slave. Just Lyra. And that was more than enough.